The gospel comes from John 4, verses 5 through 26. So he came to a Samaritan city called Sychar, near the plot of ground that Jacob had given to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, tired out by his journey, was sitting by the well. It was about noon. A Samaritan woman came to draw the water, and Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink." His disciples had gone to the city to buy food. The Samaritan woman said to him, "How is it that you, a Jew, ask a drink of me, a woman of Samaria? Jews do not share things in common with Samaritans." Jesus answered her, "If you knew the gift of God and who it is that is saying to you, 'Give me a drink,' you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." The woman said to him, "Sir, you have no bucket, and the well is deep. Where do you get that living water? Are you greater than our ancestor Jacob, who gave us the well, and with his sons and flocks drank from it?" Jesus said to her, "Everyone who drinks of this water will be thirsty again, but those who drink of the water that I will give them will never be thirsty. The water that I will give will become in them a spring of water gushing up to eternal life." The woman said to him, "Sir, give me this water so that I may never be thirsty or have to keep coming here to draw water." Jesus said to her, "Go, call your husband and come back." The woman answered him, "I have no husband." Jesus said to her, "You are right in saying, 'I have no husband,' for you have had 5 husbands, and the one you have now is not your husband. What you have said is true." The woman said to him, "Sir, I see that you are a prophet. Our ancestors worshipped on this mountain, but you say that the place where people must worship is in Jerusalem." Jesus said to her, "Woman, believe me, the hour is coming when you will worship the Father, neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. You worship what you do not know. We worship what we know, for salvation is from the Jews. But the hour is coming, and is now here, when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and truth, for the Father seeks such as these to worship him. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth." The woman said to him, "I know that Messiah is coming, who is called Christ. When he comes, he will proclaim all things to us." Jesus said to her, "I am he, the one who is speaking to you." The Gospel of our Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Hi, I'm Amber Lobdell. I work for Creative Care for Reaching Independence here in Moorhead. So I work with 4 men who have varying disabilities, physical and intellectual. So they live in a group home, and they are a family, just like we have families. They have family meals together. They do things together. They bicker over the remote. And I come in and with the other staff, and we help them meet their needs, but more importantly, live the lives they want. I'm just kind of a tool to help with car rides, doctor appointments, and they have enriched my life beyond anything. So I'm going to share a little bit about that today, and how I found myself in serving others. So 10 years ago, my now husband was urging me to go to the doctor to talk about treatment for my anxiety disorder. The thought of going to the doctor to talk about myself was so terrifying to me. So the fact I'm here talking about myself to a whole congregation is a testament to the growth I've experienced. I cried through the whole appointment, and I couldn't look the doctor in the eyes. I felt weak for needing medication and help, and I felt embarrassed that I couldn't be normal on my own. I was so frustrated that my brain seemed to be wired in a way that held me back. I started medication and saw some improvement, but I had developed a pattern of negative thinking and low self-esteem that couldn't be reversed with just a pill. I majored in ceramics and spent hours working in seclusion. I figured that this type of work is what I should do, and I should avoid situations that make me anxious. This time doing careful, creative work was healing for me, but I began to realize that people energize me and that isolating had made things worse. I decided I wanted to try to find something different, maybe somewhere I could make a difference, and I think my heart needed that. My path brought me to CCRI, and I had no idea I was about to meet 4 guys who would impact my life so positively I would gain more in serving them than they could possibly gain from me. To treat my anxiety and depression, I had tried medications, workbooks, art as a means of treatment, and seeing a therapist, but the therapist couldn't have known that the best treatment for me would be working for people with disabilities at CCRI. It seems counterintuitive, really, to pour yourself into serving others in a person-centered environment when you are terribly anxious around people. But the 4 gentlemen I had the opportunity to serve and the amazing staff I worked with have taught me more about myself than anything else could. Neither the therapist nor I could have known that my greatest growth would come from a prescription my job would provide. If she could have written a prescription for the things I would do at CCRI, it would have looked something like dance every night to Grease Lightning, get so lost in serving others you forget about your own struggles, make cardboard box houses, attend camp again, hold someone's hand through a situation that you don't understand, experience pure joy in the simple things in life, singing Beach Boys in the car at the top of your lungs, tucking in your clients' Ken dolls at night. I could keep going, but you get the picture. But enough about me. We can move on to the fun stuff, the 4 guys who I keep going on about. My first day of training, when I arrived at my client's home, they greeted me like I was Christmas morning. They greeted me with genuine hugs and smiles and excitement, like I was someone they had always known. I'm in my 8th year serving them now, and they greet me like that every single time I arrive. I want to spend most of this time speaking about these 4 individuals, Lane, David, Brad, and Greg, because I am so proud to know them, and I think they will make you smile too. And they have taught me some of what I have come to know Christ's love is like for me. That first day of work, and now, most of the time Brad greets me with his signature thumbs up, "Amber, all right!" Then he tells me that I need to cut my hair and get the split ends off. Brad is pretty much a local celebrity. He has amazing confidence and will strike up a conversation with anyone. Usually it starts with, "Do I know you?" And I think 80% of the time the person does know him. The other 20% must not get out much. No, I'm just kidding. But the other 20% are lucky because Brad is about to make a new friend out of them. He is so friendly, in fact, he will sometimes talk to you about things you'd rather not. I know one time we were eating at Frying Pan, and he asked a lady eating at her dinner how old she was. She sheepishly replied, 63, and Brad patted her hand and said, "Wow, you really dress appropriately for your age." In 2012, he used his outspokenness to meet former President Bill Clinton. The evening was full of hilarity and awkwardness in the best way. Brad loves politicians, and despite the fact that he was a Republican in 2012, Brad heard Bill Clinton was coming to a Democratic rally at the Civic Center and immediately wanted to go. He kept telling me, "Amber, we are going to go meet Bill." I reminded him to not get his hopes up, as there would be many people there. When we got there, the arena was so full we were seated in an overflow room. The overflow room didn't have any screens to watch Bill Clinton speak. It was just a whole lot of Democrats sitting in silence for Brad to strike up conversations with. Brad told the lady next to us, "I sure hope Obama doesn't get elected again. I don't want another 4 years with him." The woman became upset and quickly came to Obama's defense. Brad apologetically told her, "Hey, it's okay to be a little Republican once in a while." We sat awkwardly as 1 hour turned into 2, and the people in the overflow room began to leave. I asked Brad if he wanted to leave, and he told me, "No, I'm going to meet Bill." Sure enough, by hour 3 of Brad waiting for Bill Clinton, the former president entered, and as others crowded around the former president, they kindly helped Brad to the front so he could get a good view from his wheelchair. Brad quickly shouted, "President Bush!" Bill Clinton turned to face Brad and began to laugh. Brad cupped his mouth and said, "I mean, Clinton." "How's Hillary? How's Chelsea? How's..." And just when I was afraid Bill was about to say Monica, or Brad was, he changed the subject to asking for a photo. Bill Clinton warmly agreed to take a photo with Brad and held his hand. Brad's face was beaming with the purest joy. Brad has shown me what true confidence and fearlessness looks like. He won't hesitate to make a friend, tell someone they need their mustache waxed, grab the attention of a former president, or speak up for what he believes in, regardless of who the audience is. Greg, on the other hand, is a beautiful array of contradictions. He can move the slowest, the fastest, be the quietest of the roommates, then suddenly outspoken. He can sit quietly sipping coffee and then tear up the dance floor. He will transition from watching old sci-fi to Little House on the Prairie, to the Muppets, to Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. When Greg goes to watch these movies, he will also really politely tell you that he's going to his room to play Kens, aka have his large collection of Ken dolls participate in a fight club on his bed. He is both predictable and impulsive. No one could ask for a better worker. He wakes up bright and early to go to work to sort screws. He dresses in very classy clothes and has never complained about going to work. When he gets home, staff asks, "How was work?" And he always smiles huge and says, "Great." His impulsiveness comes out at the most random times. One day when I was shaving Brad's head, Greg pointed to his hair and said, "Okay, try bald." So after asking if he was sure, I lathered up Greg's head with shaving cream and we shaved his head totally bald. He looked in the mirror and laughed for a solid 2 minutes and has since been getting a haircut every day. Greg has become some kind of cheerful reminder for bald guys not to let their hair loss bother them too much. Every time he sees them, he removes his cap and says, "Hey, bald person," in solidarity, with a huge smile. Greg is a true gentleman and will remove his cap and do a slight bow to people entering stores while he holds the door open. He will gently say, "Ma'am," and "Sir," to acknowledge them. But then he will also turn around and say something totally outspoken. Like one day when we were at an appointment, a dad and his cute chubby baby were playing in the waiting room. Greg gestured toward the baby and asked, "How old?" The man replied proudly, 14 months. Greg's face changed and he replied, "Geez, fat." Another day at Taco John's, when Greg went up to order, there was a man working with several face and neck tattoos. Greg smiled huge and said, "Oh, nice tattoo." Then he looked at me and gestured toward the man's face and said, "Cute." I'm not sure if the guy was going for cute, but even this tough guy couldn't hold back a smile. I so appreciate the complexity of Greg, and spending time with him never gets old. David is another one who gives so much joy to others. I remember when I first met him, our conversation mostly went like this. "Hi, girl." "Hi, Dave." "Girl." "Hi, girl." "Hi, Dave." "Girl, you are so weird." That day I wasn't sure what to say, but now I have become a pro at Dave's banter. Dave will sing about how weird I am to the tune of Jingle Bells. I'll tell him he's being sassy, and he'll put his hands on his hips and reply, "Oh yeah, being sassy, girl." The more we tease each other, the more nasally the conversation gets until it becomes us both just saying, "No, you're weird. You are. You are." David usually finishes with, "Stop. We're both weird." Many don't realize that David has a very large vocabulary, and the only time he's not talking is when he's eating or sleeping. I listen to him while he's getting ready in the morning, saying, "That shirt looks very beautiful on you. It shows up nice," and it warms my heart. I have a tendency to be very self-critical, and listening to Dave's positive self-talk is a good reminder to be kind to myself, too. David and I have a bond over art. He can be anxious, too, and he has found art as an outlet. His drawings are absolutely beautiful. His favorite subjects to draw are bikes and houses. He has entered art shows and won, but could care less about the victory. He just wanted to go get a kid's meal at McDonald's afterwards. David has inspired me to get more kids' meals for myself. Sometimes you just want a My Little Pony. I totally get it, Dave. The first day I met Lane, he told me I was hired. I thought I was hired already, but now I know it's extra official when Lane hires you. Lane has declared himself President Barack Obama's twin brother since they were both born in 1961. Every day he goes to his room and makes calls to Obama. I'm not entirely sure what they talk about, but one day he gave us an interesting insight. When I was pregnant with my daughter, Brad was telling us that when you have a baby, you have to cut the biblical cord. Lane immediately jumped in and not only corrected Brad that it was the umbilical cord, he explained very graphically and accurately how babies are born, using all the correct anatomical parts and details. He finished with, "And then the baby comes out, and you wrap it up and hold it so tight." Brad started laughing and put his head down, embarrassed, on the counter. Well, we asked, "Lane, where did you learn all of that?" And he replied nonchalantly, "Obama." Lane keeps me on my toes in the most amazing way. One evening, he asked me to assist him in tapping the floor in the basement. I had no idea why we were doing this. He told me we were checking if Adam West was down there in a bat cave. My favorite thing about Lane, however, is his heart. Lane shows his pure heart by his strong moral compass. He always wants to make sure his roommates are safe and that the community is complying with the law. Lane's brother once told me that this was nothing new. When Lane was very young, he had the idea to give cars passing by speeding tickets with his own paper and pen. Lane cares so deeply for others, even people he doesn't know. He would be the first person to approach you if you were sad, ready with a hug. Recently, he became so upset because of how politicians were treating each other on TV that he asked me with his voice breaking why they couldn't just be nice to each other. I sat for a while thinking of this. In a world of people one-upping each other and winning, Lane saw what is most important, being gentle with one another. We have had some really hilarious times. I shared some fun stories because most of the time, work is so fun that it doesn't even feel right to call it work. There are some frustrating times, of course, and sometimes we don't understand each other. But in seeing the guys' struggles and victories, something beautiful happened in the last few years. I have realized there are some things about myself and my anxiety that other people won't understand, and I realized that's okay. I realized I can be perfectly myself with my brain's less than perfect wiring, and this is how I was created. Others will still love me. When I see the guys in their daily lives, I realize the things that make them imperfect are what make them so beautiful. I have realized that this is how I'm supposed to be too. And even though it's not fun or easy sometimes, there's nothing wrong with having anxiety. In a lot of ways, it defines me, and I think it makes me a better, more empathetic caregiver. When I reflect on my time serving my 4 guys, I realize they didn't just teach me about myself. They have given me a new outlook entirely. On several occasions, someone in the community will come up to me and say, "Bless you, I could never do what you do," or give the guys looks of pity. I usually find myself wishing they could see what I see and not what society says makes a person successful. My guys don't care what's in your bank account, what number the scale says, or what you wear, although one of them may tell you when your eyebrows need to be plucked. This is the most important thing that I have learned about my 4 guys, so I'm going to say it slow. They don't measure your worth by externals. Their hearts are whole. Their souls are strong and powerful. They freely give and receive love. They make me rich in love and laughter until the tears come. I do not pity them. Instead, I am overcome with admiration and gratitude for them. Gandhi once said, "The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others." And it couldn't be more true. I've found myself, but I've also found so much more. Thank you.